We love our pets. They're our best friends as we navigate life's ups and downs with a wag or a purr just when we need it. The Royal Veterinary College is there for our pets, home to Europe's largest small animal referrals hospital, with over 200 specialists providing expert care 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The bond between a pet and their person is worth fighting for, and that's the belief that inspired the RVC Memory Tree, a beautiful handmade sculpture standing in the heart of the RVC Small Animal Referrals Hospital, adorned with gold, silver and copper leaves, each one engraved with the name of a beloved pet, and each one funding the extraordinary work happening there every day. For just £10 a month, you can dedicate a leaf in the name of your pet, celebrating your pet's life, whilst also helping to fund life-saving treatment and care for animals in need. Visit rvcact.com/memory tree to dedicate a leaf today and let your pet's memory live on.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and each week I'm joined by a panel of guests to discuss all things fandom and pop culture, primarily from a female perspective. You'll find everything from fanfic to cosplay to Schitt's Creek to Supernatural and everything in between. So put on your favorite piece of fandom merch, set aside that fanfic that you're writing about your OTP, and sit back and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Pop Culture and Fandom News. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and on Friday's episode, we are going to be talking about the Apple TV show Shrinking, and this was a suggestion from listener Steffi, so thank you so much for suggesting this show. This was a first-time watch for me, but I know it wasn't a first-time watch for my panelists joining me for that episode and this week's Pop Culture and Fandom News episode. So let me introduce those two lovely human beings. So first up, you know her from the amazing convention that's coming back next year, Queers and Quills, Ishelle. Hello, Ishelle.
Hello, Erin. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. And returning from our Patreon episode that dropped last week, so become a Patreon supporter for as little as $3 a month. And you could hear us talking about the final season of The Bear. Sara. Hello, Sara.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So let's get into some pop culture and fandom news. So, Ishelle, what is one thing in fandom, pop culture that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so in high school, we read the classics, which I want to point out is like way too young to be reading the classics, I think, because you don't have the frontal lobe to truly appreciate what you're reading. But on our summer reading list one year was East of Eden, and ever since then, that has been my favorite book. That is not an endorsement of John Steinbeck, not necessarily an endorsement of some of the things in the book, but that is my favorite book. And I saw yesterday, apparently this has been a thing, but I saw yesterday that there is I believe a series coming to Netflix, an East of Eden adaptation coming to Netflix. And so I am very excited about that. I watched the trailer for it today and I was like, okay, I could get into this. So I'm going to be seated for that. I do not remember when it is coming out, but it's coming.
I'm going to have to look this up because I didn't even know that. Did you see the movie with James Dean?
Mm-hmm, I did.
The late, great, amazing James Dean. I just sometimes imagine what we would have gotten from James Dean if he hadn't died. Wow, with Florence Pugh and stuff in it? Jeez, I've not heard of this at all. And Christopher Abbott? Oh my gosh. Martha Plimpton.
I am very excited. Very excited to see what they do with that.
I haven't heard anything about this. Wow. I felt so out of the loop somehow on this. And it's October 1st. So kicking off Halloween.
I mean, there's some horror element.
That's true.
It's a woman having to deal with two brothers. I mean, that's some horror right there. So, yeah.
That's true. That's very true. Cool. Wow. When you said East of Eden, I'm like, whoa, that's like a... Awesome. So, Sara.
So my current obsession, hyperfixation, whatever, is Dungeon Crawler Curl, which absolutely no idea how this series was not on my radar when the first book dropped in I think it was 2020 or right around there, because this is this is so me. So super, super fun. I'm only halfway through the first book and I'm obsessed. Super fun story, basically. And this is not really spoilers because it happens in the first chapter of the book. Aliens come to Earth to take all our resources. Basically, everything gets crushed and only people that were outside at the time that were in a building survive. And they have a choice. They can just survive in the wasteland that is now Earth, which, whatever. Or they can go into the dungeon and basically survive all these levels and earn control of their planet again. So Carl gets stuck with his ex-girlfriend's prize Persian cat named Princess Donut, hence my name. And it's, oh my God, if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games, that sort of thing, you will absolutely love this. It is such a fun read. I'm currently actually reading it, but I've heard that the audiobook is even better because of the narration. And I think it's Peacock has picked it up to be a live action series. So they are in the process of casting right now. And one of the names that keeps coming up for Carl that I've seen is Jensen Ackles, which if it had been 20 years earlier would be perfect. But Carl is supposed to be I think he's supposed to be 27. And even though Jensen looks fabulous, he's probably a little bit old for the part, but I think he would have had a blast playing this character. So I am looking forward to reading the 7 other books in this series. There's a few, but I am really looking forward to the other books. I haven't been this excited about a series of books in a very, very long time. To the point where, I'm constant, I keep telling my oldest son, Nate, who's 23, I'm like, you need to read this if you would love it. I don't know. I have a stack of books like this that are on my to read. And yeah, this one I'm kind of obsessed with. So highly, highly, highly recommend. So much fun. So much fun. It's very, I think it gets a little deeper as the books go on, but so far it's very silly and very fun. And I just absolutely love it. And I would die for Princess Donut the cat because she's amazing. She talks, which is hilarious. I can't even imagine my cat talking because I don't even know what she would want to I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was on this podcast, or it was a couple other people who talked about this not too long ago.
Okay.
Like a year or so ago, mentioned this. And I didn't know there was a show in the works. And I mean, people are always trying to cast Jensen Ackles and stuff that's not even close to even happening, or stuff that it really isn't true. I haven't heard that part. Because usually because of it's a Dean thing, I'm usually tuned into all of that stuff going on. Hadn't heard that. But yeah, so bringing this one back. So cool. Awesome. Well, I am not going to be talking about something I'm into. I'm going to be talking about something I want to stop. And that is Ryan Murphy. I really think Ryan Murphy is a plague on Hollywood in some respects. I mean, I know that I have contributed to part of the rising, empire that is Ryan Murphy. I understand that. I've watched a lot of his stuff. And I am not saying there isn't a possibility that I will watch the American Horror Story season 13. I watched the first few episodes of that god-awful Bret Easton Ellis adaptation. It's an adaptation of a Bret Easton Ellis novel, who, if you don't know who that is, he wrote American Psycho, and he also wrote Less Than Zero. And, he's written a lot of, that's kind of his style. And he wrote this that's also set in the 80s, and Ryan Murphy adapted it. And it's basically just like a Ryan Murphy thing of let's just look at all these pretty people while there's a serial killer around. And someone plays Bret Easton Ellis in this, and there's narration, and it's the most irritating thing. I was sick, and that's my excuse, but it's still not an excuse. But it just goes to show how vapid and hollow and shallow Ryan Murphy stuff is. And was a trailer released this week for the Lizzie Borden show that he's doing for Netflix. And it's part of his Monster series, which of course started with the god-awful Dahmer series, which I watched the first episode and then refused to watch anymore because it made me sick to my stomach. And also the victims' families were outraged and didn't get, any kind of consultation on that, allegedly. And then, of course, he did the Menendez brothers, which I will admit I did watch that whole one. There's one episode in there that actually is really good. And then he did, which I didn't watch any of it, the Ed Gein one. And this is part of his series of, like he did American Crime Story. And then he did like the JFK Jr. Carolyn Bessette one, which I guess had this whole thing basically just really allegedly not treating Daryl Hannah very well in the series. But, because she used to date JFK Jr. for young people who might not know that. So I just think, he's just kind of like a tabloid who goes after all these salacious stories. And when he goes after real life stuff, it bothers me more because it's like, yes, I know your shtick anyway, but when you're going after real life things and it's going to be you handling them, it makes me very hesitant because I don't think he respects the material. Or respects the real life stories and the people that got hurt by them. He just likes the salaciousness of it. He likes the tabloidness of it. He also likes the fact that he can hire pretty people. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's something almost perverse sometimes, I think, in kind of like it feels like he almost gets off on some of this stuff. This is me alleging this stuff. I don't know this for a fact. And either he's like the nicest person in the world to work with because people work with him constantly over and over again, or he has blackmail material on people because there's no stopping him. And I understand I have helped this problem by consuming the media that he has created. I totally acknowledge that. But there comes a point, there's even talk that there might be like a Glee revival, which would be awful. And there just comes a point when you have to realize that this person who, number one, doesn't know how to wrap up series at all. Like except for American Crime Story, the assassination of Gianni Versace, and actually the OJ one was pretty good. Except for those, like Ryan Murphy does not know how to end a series. He just doesn't usually. They suck. I think 911, which is a Ryan Murphy show, has gone so downhill. I kind of hate watch it now. And I just think I don't know, he just is sleazy to me. And I don't think he realizes or does it. He's so out of touch with the fact that there are real people involved in these things. And granted, Lizzie Borden happened so long ago that, that is a little bit like, I think like a little bit easier to see, but he's also having Sarah Paulson, which I don't know how this is going to work in there, playing Eileen Wuornos. What? So it's just like, just make American Horror Story with fictional people and we can guess who they might be based on. And Lizzie Borden, there were lots of questions about her sexuality. This is a thing that was questioned. And the trailers very clearly are showing they're leaning into that, and leaning into it looks like maybe she was having an affair with a maid there. And that might have been why she killed her parents. My issue with that is that, yes, I know Ryan Murphy is a gay man. That does not mean that he is always great at representation. His internalized homophobia, in my opinion, he has like some of the biggest internalized homophobia. His transphobia when he did Nip Tuck was off the charts. When that was still remains the hardest rewatch I've ever done for this podcast ever. And I think he feels like he made up for that with Pose, but I don't like to give him too much credit for that show because he was just an executive producer. So I don't like to give him too much credit for it. So it's just like, okay, are you going to handle this with care or are you going to make it salacious? And judging by the trailer, it's going to be salacious and it's not going to be handling that aspect of it with care. whoever keeps greenlighting him, I know it's because it makes money, and I understand it's business, but it's just really irritating and aggravating. And once again, I acknowledge my complicity in some of this, but he just pisses me off so much sometimes. So yeah, that Lizzie Borden thing just, oh God. And they already explored that with a different movie that I never saw with Kristen Stewart. And I never saw that movie, but I think they explored that. And from what I understand, it was done in a very, like a very caring way, in a very respectful way, and not done in a way like, oh, Lizzie Borden was gay, so she killed her parents because she couldn't come out. And I don't know. There's just something about that in his hands that makes me very trepidatious. And of course, I haven't seen it, so I don't know if that's for sure what it is. But yes, so stop Ryan Murphy. Although I will say The Normal Heart still remains one of my favorite episodes we've ever done on this podcast. And Michelle was on that. And I do think that movie was outstanding. So that's the problem, is I do think Ryan Murphy actually has talent in there, but he just gets off so much on the salaciousness that he's forgotten how to be talented. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to watch the trailer for the upcoming movie that looks so light and everything. So I apologize. My two panelists are going to be watching a very heavy trailer. So when we come back, we will watch the trailer for Josephine.
Everything feels easier in the summer, or at least it should. The days are a little more relaxed, and you just want those pieces that are comfortable and can be worn again and again. This episode is sponsored by Quince. Quince focuses on well-made essentials that naturally become those everyday staples you actually live in all season long. Their tees are soft enough to live in all day, and their lightweight cotton sweaters are exactly what you want when summer nights cool down. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories to cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. Quince's linen shirt is a game changer. You can wear it an embarrassing number of times this summer, and it never goes out of style or out of comfort. And Quince isn't just about clothing. It has become a trusted favorite for everything from home to travel to everyday essentials. Make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/wizardio for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/wizardio for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/wizardio.
This episode is sponsored by Vinted. I've been trying to be a bit more ruthless with my wardrobe recently because I'm so guilty of keeping clothes for this imaginary version of myself who is apparently going to wear something I haven't touched in 2 years. So I've been using Vinted, which is a second-hand marketplace app where you can sell the clothes you're no longer wearing and give them a second life. Listing on Vinted is really quick and simple, and once something sells, Vinted creates the prepaid shipping label for you. There are also no seller fees, so you keep what you earn and the Vinted app is free to download. So if you've got a section of your wardrobe dedicated to your hypothetical future self, maybe this is your sign to finally clear it out. Download the Vinted app for free and start listing with no seller fees so you keep everything you earn.
Okay, it's that time. Hit pause on us and then click play on the link in the show notes for the trailer Josephine. And once again, like I said, this is a pretty heavy looking movie. This was at Sundance and it's supposed to be an intense watch. It is with Channing Tatum and Gemma Chan, and Mason Reeves plays this little girl. And yeah, so once again, click pause. And then once you hit play again, we will be back with our thoughts. Okay, so we just watched the trailer for Josephine. So, Ishelle, I seem to always... Well, no. Didn't I do a lighter one the last time we were...
We did do a lighter one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on this? And do you want to watch Josephine?
You know, I couldn't really tell what was going on, but...
And I'll tell everybody, too.
Okay. But, I mean, I was following along, but I'm like, did the daddy do something? Is it her daddy? What is going on? Did he kidnap her? What's happening? But yeah, no, I'm interested. I would definitely watch that to see what's going on there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think, and the only reason I'm asking this is I think sometimes people that started out as like sex symbols or like Channing Tatum did. And of course, Channing Tatum also, starred in Magic Mike famously, and he helped start Magic Mike, which I've seen twice in Las Vegas. So, which is an amazing show if you ever get a chance to. Seriously, it's like, it makes you feel very affirmed as a woman. I want to say that. He created something very special. So do you think, because I think he gets kind of pigeonholed into being the attractive person. Do you have any opinions on him as an actor?
Yeah, I do. And I think, he got in where he could get in. And so I think they were doing a lot of the I don't know if they had him doing like sex symbol type things at some point, but then they had him start out, he was doing the okay, you can dance. Okay, you're going to go do a Coach Carter and play basketball. So I think they were trying to figure out where to put him. And then I guess at some point he landed in the okay, we're going to make you the romantic lead in some stuff or whatever. But then I think that he got very, I don't know if it was his own choosing or what, but I think he got a little bit wiser with that. And so you got to see where he didn't take himself too seriously. And he would do comedies and he would be a silly character and that sort of thing. And then now getting to see him in more, I don't want to say serious, but I can't think of another word, in roles like that, more dramas, I think he does a great job. And I think the last thing that I saw him in was, it was based on the true story of the guy who was living in the Toys R Us.
The Roof Man?
Yeah, Roof Man. Was the last one that I saw him, and I thought he did great in that. So yeah, I like this journey for him, how he has not allowed himself to be pigeonholed, because he definitely could have become that. I don't know how this person is a human being. I'm just speaking on him as an actor.
Yeah. And I mean, he did start out as a male dancer. I mean, that is what he started out in. That's why he helped kind of create the whole Magic Mike thing. So, Sarah, what are your thoughts on this trailer? And
yeah, I mean, I am not a Channing Tatum fan. I know he has been typecast as the sex symbol, romantic lead, yada, yada. I don't find him attractive. Personal preference. I don't think I've ever seen him act at all. I can't even think of a movie that I have seen him in. I've never watched Magic Mike. It's not my thing. I don't know. That just makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know why.
Well, if it makes you uncomfortable, then.
Yeah, I just people, friends that have tried to get me to mail reviews and stuff, and I'm it's not my thing. But anyway, that aside, having said that I am not a huge Channing Tatum fan, I am intrigued by this. I mean, the trailer doesn't really give away anything. Obviously, the child saw something. We don't know what. So I think it was very well done in that aspect. So I definitely think it's one that I don't know if I'll see it in the theater, but I think it's definitely one that I will watch. And I'm kind of glad to see him in a different, more of a dramatic role, as opposed to being the love interest or, a comedy type film. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do with it, because, despite not having actually seen him in a film that I can remember, I'm curious about this one and to see what he does with it. Might change my opinion of him.
Yeah, and I do want to say, and I totally respect what you're saying about that not being your thing, and it, the male reviews and stuff. I do want to say Magic Mike is very different than I'm not saying they aren't sexy as hell and sexy dances. And I got to have because it was my birthday the last time we did VIP, I got to have a lap dance and was brought up on stage and all this stuff, and then got to meet the dancers afterwards. And they were incredibly nice human beings, incredibly nice men. But I do want to stress with that one why I think that one is so special. And, they have this whole opening thing. They have a woman who hosts it, who's the MC. And what's different about it is it's very much based on consent. The dancers have consent. You as a woman have consent. If you don't want to be up there, if you don't want to do things, if you don't want to, if you don't want to grab their ass I got to do. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. And it's all about consent and about like finding that's what the whole thing, there's a whole story that happens and all this stuff. So it's very much a very different thing that's all about the talent. And these dancers are incredibly talented. And about that, it's not like a strip show. They do take off their clothes, but it's not like a strip show. It's not like they open it like that, like how you would imagine something like that happening, maybe if you've never been to but it's not that. I just want to stress that for people because I think that's why women go and some people have been like, it changed my life. I wouldn't go that far, but it is incredibly empowering as a woman. So it's a little bit different. I just want to say that for everybody listening out there. So yeah, so I'm just saying that.
No, that's actually, I would not have thought that because I did go to one in my 20s when we were living in Georgia, and it felt very forced. Like the men were forcing themselves on you kind of thing.
And they make fun of that in the beginning of this one. So it's very, As far as just to let everybody know, and you can stop listening for a few minutes if you don't want to know what this movie is about. If you want to just go in blind, and I'll say trigger warnings too. But if you don't want to know what it's about, don't listen for the next couple minutes, including my panelists if you want to take your headphones off and not know. So Channing Tatum is her dad, but he doesn't do anything. So just to get that out of the way, it is about this little girl, Josephine, who is in the park. I believe it's in the park. And her mom is the Gemma Chan character, who's played by Gemma Chan, who's a really, really fantastic actress too. And she gets separated from her dad and she witnesses a sexual assault, witnesses the whole thing. And so that's what this is about having a child be the witness to a crime. And that's what the movie is about. So it's not her dad didn't, as far as I know, what I've heard, her dad didn't do anything. It's just he was there, but they got separated and she happened to witness a horrendous crime. So, so that's what the movie is about. It's supposed to be fantastic. I love Channing Tatum. I really, really love Channing Tatum. I think he is such an amazing actor, so incredibly underrated. I think even his work in Magic Mike was fantastic. The first one, though, is kind of boring. The second one is a lot of fun because it leans into the cheesiness of everything. And I think he was really good in this outstanding movie that came out a couple of years ago, Blink Twice, which is a very, very heavy watch. There's a lot of essay stuff. He's a complete and total asshole in that, but he's really good in it. And so I'm excited that he's getting more character-driven work like this because I think he is a fantastic actor who deserves a lot more respect.
Was that the one with Zoe Kravitz was tied to it in some way? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she wrote and directed it. It also has Naomi Ackie in it and a bunch of other people. And that one, I want to say, when I went and saw that in the theaters, one thing I really appreciated about that movie, when you walked into the theater, they had a note outside saying this movie deals with sexual assault and a warning for that. And you don't normally see that when you're about to walk into a theater. So I really appreciated that. That was pretty awesome. And it's a really, really fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. I know it sounds like the premise, if you look up the premise, it sounds really horrible and really hard to sit through. But remember, this is directed by a woman and written. And so there is some great stuff as a woman that is very fun to watch. I will say that there's some fun stuff to watch. So as a woman, if you want revenge, if you want to see anything like that, I will give you that. But it's a great movie. But yeah, so I'm excited for this one. It looks up my alley. I like movies like this that are dark and that are very character driven, which is what this seems like it is. That's like catnip to me. So I'm very, very excited for it. And thank you both for watching it. Because I was I have so many trailers bookmarked and I'm I don't know. And that is coming in the theaters, of course, in November, like it says, because it's going to be an Oscar one for sure, trying to vie for that. I don't know if it'll get any, but that's what it, of course, looks like it's going to do. Okay, so when we come back, we are going to talk about the fake celebrity podcast scam that is fooling Hollywood. And part of the Part of the scam uses AI, so we'll be right back. Okay, so there is fake celebrity podcast scams now that are fooling Hollywood, like actors. Like for Supernatural fans out there, this happened to Kim Rhodes, and she actually can't monetize. I can't remember which account she can't monetize because she fell for one of these. So she's been punished for that and locked out of certain things. But like some of the people that have been victims of this are like Broadway performer Seth Rudetsky, who got an invitation that they thought was to appear on Nikki Glazer's podcast. And they even said, we will pay you $4,000 to $5,000, which this person's like, oh my gosh, you're paying me to be on a podcast. And it just kind of snowballed. And eventually, like, they ended up hacking into his Facebook account. He couldn't get into his Facebook account. Like, they, set up this is kind of what happened to Kim Rhodes, I believe, as well. They set up like this meeting beforehand and he couldn't see the other person. The other person didn't have their camera on and they had an accent, like an English accent, but then they said they were somewhere else. And even like their email was weird, but they kept kind of excusing that. And they kept asking for verification on how to get into the Facebook thing. And so they ended up taking over his Facebook account. And then the other one that happened that they mention in here, and there's been a bunch of them, but is Bruce Valanche, who is a very famous like comedian. He's older. He believed that Terry Gross, who is like my interview idol, like I think she's like one of the best interviewers in the whole entire world, who hosts Fresh Air, which is part of NPR. And it followed the same kind of thing. Like he said, it sounded so much like her. The invitation sounded like her, all this kind of stuff. And they would talk. And what this one did is asked him for money. And they said, well, NPR, we're getting our funding cut. And he ended up giving them money. And then the day of the interview, he went on and this other guy appeared and it wasn't, Terry Gross. And he was like, hello, this is Mike. I will be conducting the interview. And Valanche is like, nope, I'm talking to Terry or no one else. And he's like, no, we can't do it. And so then Bruce Valanche realized what was happening and ended it after 15 minutes and said, whoever you are, I hope you enjoy the paltry sum that I sent. And then Rudetsky got another one of these from Amy Poehler, who of course has a podcast now, which I really enjoy her podcast. And this time he knew Amy Poehler. So he reached out to Amy Poehler personally and said, did you send this? She's like, no. And so he keeps getting these and he's played around with a few of them and even told one of them, like, I reported you as a scam. And the person said in a remarkably cool response, quote, noted, we'll see what happens next, which will probably be nothing. I mean, that's usually what happens in these. So Ishelle, with AI being what it is and the fact that celebrities are just like real people and they fall for this crap too, do you think AI is going to end up making scamming even more prevalent?
For sure. We were getting scammed off chain letters back in the 90s. I mean, technology's only gotten more evil and heinous. So for sure, which is very sad and unfortunate. But yeah, I had that exact same thought when you said celebrities are just like us. They too are giving away their bank account information to some Nigerian prince. But yeah, so very unfortunate. But I do think that we'll see more of that because they're able with AI to harvest more of your information, like be you an individual, a company or whatever. Like I know in my company, the girl who was our like office administrator, she gets this email from allegedly our CEO and it's like, hey, I need you to go out and buy 30 gift cards for this thing that I'm doing. I'm taking these clients out and I want to gift them all these gift cards. So I need you to go buy like $100 gift cards. And then he's like, oh, I'm actually not going to be able to make it to the office in time. So can you mail them to their assistant and she's going to hand them out? And so she's like, okay. So, yeah. But anyway, I think if you take what AI is able to do and just information that it can gather and how it can be like, oh, this person does this and here's how I can find these, I can scrub their Instagram or their Facebook and I can find all these little details that would quote unquote verify who I am or how I know this person, and then I can manipulate them into doing anything. So yeah, I think it's very gross and it's very dangerous. And yeah, I do think that we will see more of it. This is a very odd way for it to show up in like a podcast thing. But I'm like, who was the person who thought of that idea? But I mean, I get you can do literally anything. So even though I am shocked that that is the avenue that they chose, I am not shocked that such a thing can happen. And unfortunately, I do think that we'll see more stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have AI podcasts now, so like that's a real thing.
Oh, well, of course. They've got recording artists and commercials and all of it.
So, Sarah?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not surprised by this at all. I mean, scams have been going around for years and years and years. You know, how many of us have gotten the email from the Nigerian prince? And I mean, I know that's sort of a, not a stereotype, but a whatever. So this is not surprising at all. And with AI, it's just, I think it's just going to get worse. And, it is kind of an odd thing to do, in terms of podcasting. And I don't know, the whole AI just, in general gives me the ick. I guess I can understand its place somewhat, but not, yeah. I just feel like this is just the beginning, and this is just going to get worse. And, they're targeting celebrities right now and podcasts, but it's going to start targeting everyone else. I mean, this stuff has been going on for years, like the gift card thing, where, supposedly the IRS would contact you and say, you owe this much in back taxes. You need to go buy $1,000 in Apple gift cards and send it to us. And people would do this to the point where you can't even buy more than a certain amount of gift cards at a store now without it being flagged. And just as AI gets more and more prevalent, which it is, this is just going to get worse, and it's just going to make things easier for these scammers to get money out of people who, I don't want to say know any better, but it's going to seem a lot more real than what they have been doing. And that is terrifying.
Yeah. And like was pointed out in this article, the two people that did it, they're like, well, we're older, so we're probably more susceptible to the AI part of it, because not even thinking of the AI part of it. And while I think that is true, definitely a lot of these scammers take real advantage of elderly. A lot. It happens all the time. My late grandmother was scammed big time by one of those, I'll send you a check and you just go cash it and blah, blah, blah. And, these scams, the problem is they're very hard to stop and very hard to find and very hard to get rid of. And AI is just going to make them be able to do these quicker. And AI itself, if you haven't heard, AI itself has hacked in to systems that it's not supposed to be hacking into, like without any human control. Like no human said hack into this, and they've hacked into things. So there's also that thing going on. And yeah, the whole like buying gift cards is like one of those in your jobs you're always told the CEO is never going to ask you to get a gift card. A lot of companies now, they will actually send out the phishing email to test their employees and see if they fall for it or not. I don't know if you know this, everybody, but this happens. And it's like a test thing to see if you're paying attention. I have my own feelings on that, but but yeah, I think this is an interesting thing. My guess is they have probably tried this on people that are not famous. And once it started working, they kind of moved their way up. I don't know this for a fact, but that would be my guess, because I don't know. seems to me like they might have tried, I don't know this, but might have tried that a different way. So yeah, this whole thing with AI, it's just another reason why AI sucks. And using this as another reason to take up more water and resources and destroy the environment more for these scams. And this is another reason why we should stop supporting AI and putting more money into AI, because then this stuff is going to just grow and be easier to do and be easier to fool people. And yeah, fuck AI forever and ever and ever. Ever and ever and ever. Yeah. And I understand if you work in a business and you're like your job, like, hey, I know personally, and they're like using AI and you have to have money, you have to have a job in this capitalist world. That is not, I don't blame you, because that's more the company doing that. And you kind of have to have money to eat and to put, to feed your family and stuff. That's a little different than people that are going out of their way to make sure they use AI, or artists that go out of their way to use AI, or people that are supporting building data centers that are going to destroy our power grid. If you don't know, Gary, Indiana has been without power for over a week now. Nobody's talking about it, but they've been without power. And of course, the reason they're not talking about it is because because it's a primarily Black population there. So there's racism, environmental racism is a thing. So anyway, sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent. Whenever I think of AI, I think that is what the ultimate cost of AI is. You start with this stuff, but the ultimate cost of AI is that humanity is going to be wiped out and destroyed by AI. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So we cannot keep embracing it. And it leads to little things like this, but then it leads to bigger things like power grids failing and stuff like that. So, yeah. Okay, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of Pop Culture and Fandom News. Thank you so much, Ishel and Sara, for joining me for this week's episode. We're going to go ahead and close out, and I'll have both of my lovely panelists tell you where they can be found. And Ishel, tell everybody about Queers and Quills and where that can be found.
I would love to. Queers and Quills is a queer romance book convention that takes place in Portland, Oregon in June of 2027. It is a gathering of about, as of right now, the count is about 100 queer romance authors and a bunch of readers coming together to celebrate just queer joy and to bring a little light into a world that is becoming increasingly dark towards marginalized people. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We'll have some fun social events. We'll have some panels. We'll have a signing time. And yeah, you can find more information about Queers and Quills at queersandquills.com. And we are on social media at Queers and Quills.
Awesome. And that link will be in the show notes as well. And Sara?
Oh, that sounds amazing, because I've been looking for another excuse to go back to Portland. I went, my friend got her master's this past June, so flew up there to support her and absolutely love the city, but was only there for a couple days and really, really wanted to go back. So this gives me the perfect excuse. But anyway, you can find me on Facebook at Sara Vaccaro Barnick. That's Barnaik. On Instagram at NateCamMom, although I haven't been very active there recently. Or on TikTok at Sara A. Barnick, again, Barnaik. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you. And Fergie the dog, of course, always is against AI, but you can follow her on TikTok at Schroeder and Fergs. That's SCHROEDERANDFERGS. It's long, but it's worth it. To find links to all our past episodes and links to our social media, including our Discord server, head on over to our website. It's afandomthingpod.com. And while you're there, consider becoming a Patreon supporter today. For as little as $3 a month, you get ad-free content, you get episodes a day early, and you get bonus content, such as the bear episode that I mentioned earlier on. And also, Ishel and I did an episode discussing the vampire Lestat, which was a really, really, really good conversation, because as everybody might know, I was very, very disappointed by this season. But our conversation really helped me really completely suss out that there's really one reason that I have a problem with this season. And so it was a very good conversation, I thought, and I really, really enjoyed that discussion we had, Ishel. So become a Patreon supporter today and you get that great content. Link in the show notes, or head on over to the Support Us tab on our website, which once again is itsafandomthingpod.com. And on Friday's episode, Ishel and Sara will be back to talk about the Apple TV show Shrinking. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, and free Palestine.